Dwyer checks for a third time.
I'm all in.
And SIPPL bluff shoves the river.
Roger.
It's a well-worn cliche that No Limit Hold'em is an aggressive game. Sometimes players can get so aggressive, they can be tarnished with the bully tag.
And that's when we need a hero to take that bully down.
Well, today we're counting down the top 3 most impressive hero calls in the history of the PCA.
He's gonna
now
check.
Saul has to think to himself, well, I can beat Ace-King here.
Kevin's gonna check.
Benny's slowing down. He checks on the
Well,
flop.
interestingly, Kevin Saul also checks. He doesn't want to protect
King
his
of
sevens.
spades, King 10, 10, deuce, 2 spades on
King
board.
on the turn. That's a card that either player could represent. Benny Spindler might now pretend like, hey, you know, I've got Ace-King. I've hit my king. I'm going to go ahead and bet. We know he's certainly capable of a big bluff. It's almost 700,000 in this pot already.
Saul looks like he's going to be faced with a fairly big bet on the turn here. And of course, this would be the argument against checking in position on the flop, right, Daniel?
Well, it's just going to make it a little difficult for Kevin Saul, but I'm sure he feels like he's playing his best game right now. He can figure things out. And he desperately wants to beat his nemesis at least one time. Now, of course, Benny Spindler with absolutely nothing here. Stone cold bluff. Really just hoping to pick it up right now.
Kevin's gonna
Kevin
make the
Saul
call.
being stubborn here says, I want to see the river card. I don't believe it. I don't buy that you have a king.
Spindler's going to need a queen or an 8 on the end to make the best hand.
All right, let's see the
Pot
river,
is ballooning now up to almost 1.5 million.
Ace of hearts.
An ace on the river. Kevin Saul has to hate that card. Now he can't beat an ace, he can't beat a king. Of course, he can't beat a 10. There's not many hands he can beat. He can beat, however, what Ben Spindler does have, which is the old queen high.
Now, Spindler's got to wonder whether or not Kevin's got the ace too here, right?
Well, you know, if I were Benny Spindler right now, I think he called me on the turn when that king hit. He might have the ace too. I'd probably give up. But I don't think Benny Spindler has much quit in him. No, he wants this pot.
He is reaching for chips, Daniel.
And you see there Kevin Saul looking on intently, trying to pick up a read maybe.
There's already 1.4 million plus out there. How big's this bet got to be?
There's going to be a lot more in here all of a sudden.
650,000.
Okay, a huge bet here, 650,000. Trying to represent the ace now. Kevin Saul taking a look over at Benny Spindler, trying to figure out if there's any sort of twitch that he can see that maybe would lead him to believe he's bluffing. With just 2 sevens here, this would be a hero call. It would be a very difficult call. You know, most players by now would have had their sevens in the muck already. He bet on the king, he bet on the ace, he re-raised me before the flop. I mean, what in the world can he have that I can beat?
Well, he knows that Benny Spindler did it to him with 3-5 offsuit earlier.
It's true. It's always difficult to play against an aggressive guy like Spindler who makes you guess a lot, does a lot of crazy, funky things. Kevin Saul, his instincts are definitely telling him, he says, I just feel like these sevens might be good.
Kevin calls.
He's pushing it forward, he's calling! Wow, incredible call.
Good call.
Oh,
I want to see the hand.
Benny Spindler says, good call. What? Wow. This is really bad. I'm surprised to see Kevin Saul do this. This is considered very bad
Sevens
etiquette.
for Kevin.
I'm sorry. I have no read on you, so I just want to see what you were re-raising.
While MIZRACHI flops top pair, CODY, with position and the betting lead, flops second pair. MIZRACHI checks to him.
Now it's a bloated pot, and this is a flop no one can fold on. Jake's probably compelled to continue here most of the time. Rob's going to call with all better hands, but probably plenty of worse ones, too.
Jake's C-bet is 25,000.
Small relative to the size of the pot, but in a 3-bet pot, it's going to be just as effective as a bigger bet.
MIZRACHI calls. We go to the turn, which is the deuce of hearts, pairing the board.
Rob's now chopping with all aces that aren't ace-king.
He checks to Jake. And Jake checks behind. The river is a 10, giving MIZRACHI a better 2-pair.
Really good card for Rob, because now he's beating all aces except ace-king, and he can value bet the aces that think they're chopping.
He's made it 38,500. And Jake CODY shoves. I didn't see that coming.
Holy shnikes, he has done it again, only this time it is not for value.
See how me cover? Yeah.
Rob bet the river so small, I think it kind of turns his hand face up a bit as a value hand, but not super strong.
No.
Plus, when Rob's bluffing, you instantly win the pot. Jake's trying to rep a straight or a slow-played boat, and I think he can do it pretty credibly in this spot.
And of course, last time he made this move, he got MIZRACHI to call pretty light.
And a play like this only has to work around 60% of the time for it to be profitable, and it's going to work at least that often, I think. Rob's got the absolute worst hand he should be thinking about calling with here. It's the kind of hand you're going to spend a lot of time in the tank with.
Rob MIZRACHI has been thinking now for nearly 8 minutes.
I haven't seen someone in the tank this long since David Blaine.
I call a clock. I hate to
Yeah. I was going to call a clock too.
Jeremy Cutler's called for the clock. Rob MIZRACHI was actually going to call it on himself.
And Robbie, the ring announcer, off to find a floor man or woman.
When the tournament staff arrive, they'll put Rob MIZRACHI on a 60-second countdown. They'll have to make a decision. Jake CODY hasn't even broken a sweat.
It's impressive.
All right, I call.
He calls! After 8 minutes and 22 seconds, he calls!
Cancel the floor person, and that has got to feel great for Rob. Props to Jake CODY, too.
It was tough.
It's not an easy call. Right?
It's not easy. I thought there was a chance he's going to do that with ace-queen, ace-jack, and something like that.
Good call.
Thanks.
He calls.
Plays it kind of slow.
The flop is queen 8-8. It's a gut shot for SIPPL. O'Dwyer still ahead with ace high. O'Dwyer's playing in flow. He's checked the action to SIPPL.
And Steve can now call a lot of c-bets because it's a smaller pot.
That's a chunky c-bet from Roger, 750K.
And I don't think Roger's going to have much here very often.
O'Dwyer calls. A pot of 2.4 million. The turn card is a deuce. It changes nothing.
Can Roger dup? Nope.
Check on the turn. The river card, a 3. It's a brick. SIPPL misses its draw. Ace high is the best hand. O'Dwyer checks for a third time.
I'm all in.
And SIPPL bluff shoves the river.
Roger, what are you doing to me?
This is really tricky. Last time Raj did this, he was stronger than the drinks at the players' party. But this is not how most players are going to play their bluffs.
And that is certainly the kind of thing a player of Steve O'Dwyer's caliber is going to notice. We can see he has the best hand. A lot of players are going to fold in this spot, and if Steve does fold, he'll still have a 2-1 chip lead over Roger. But considering he has the best hand, if he heroes with ace high, he will win the tournament.
Ring 10 is pretty bad.
Father Time is going to need some time.
Good call.
He calls!
It's over.
Good call.
Incredible call.
Ace high.
With that hand, Steve O'Dwyer wins!
Wow.
I didn't have you on a pair and you didn't have one. I didn't think you were going to make that call.
I was worried I had a 10 that blocked some of your gut shots. So.
Good call.
Oh, man.